Are you wondering how you can take a vacation without worrying about your clients that you've left behind? Then today's episode is just for you. I'll be sharing the best steps that you can take to set yourself up for a successful vacation, one where you're actually feeling refreshed and able to take a break.
Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode.
Welcome back to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice located in Colorado. And I'm also a Christian business coach and mentor for therapists who are wanting to build a private practice that is faith led and rooted in the Lord. If you're interested in working with me one on one, check the description in the show notes for the way to get started with that. I'd also encourage you to sign up for my insider email list. Every single week, I send out a newsletter that includes some faith led encouragement, the link to my latest podcast, and keeps you up to date with any special offers or services I'm doing in my coaching business. As we are entering the summer season, I thought it would be really relevant to do a podcast on how to take a vacation as a private practice therapist. Just in general, as a therapist, it can be so difficult to go on a vacation because your clients have built a special relationship with you. And quite honestly, you're not easily replaceable. So even if you're working in a group practice or working for someone else, it can be a challenge to take a vacation. But when you have your own private practice, it can feel even more difficult because you are the one who's responsible for running everything about your practice, generally speaking. You don't necessarily have that built-in access to support for someone to manage your caseload when you're gone. So it can be extremely difficult. However, it is so important as therapists that we're taking time to step away, to refresh, to get filled up, to enjoy our lives, and to not be constantly managing our caseload or our business. So, in today's episode, I'm going to give you some steps to take in order to set yourself up and set your clients up for you to take a successful vacation. First of all, it's really important when you're doing financial planning and determining your fee for practice, what you need to earn in order to have a sustainable practice, to take into account the time that you'll need to take away from your business. When you're in your own private practice, you don't get PTO unless you set it up for yourself. Since taking a vacation is already a big enough challenge for most therapists, it makes it even harder if you feel like you're giving up half your salary for the month. So make sure that you're starting to set aside money on a regular basis to cover the days that you are out of the office. Once you've determined when you're taking your vacation, make sure that you plan accordingly to prepare your clients with enough notice so they can feel supported when you're away. Now, obviously, it's going to be a lot easier to take a shorter vacation over a weekend than maybe a week or two off in the summer or heading to Europe. If I'm going to leave from a Friday through a Monday, generally speaking, I don't have to do a lot of prep with my clients because I can still see them during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're already used to me not responding on a Saturday and Sunday. So maybe it's just letting them know that I'll be out of the office on the Friday and the Monday. So if they contact me, it will be a little bit longer before I'm able to respond. However, I have also taken trips that are much longer to Europe and other countries where I don't have wonderful cell phone service, where I'm in a completely different time zone. And ultimately, I decided it is best for me to let my clients know I'm virtually inaccessible during the time that I'm gone. So that has required a lot more setup in advance prior to me going on vacation. The amount of notice that you give your clients is going to be based on how long you're going to be gone. It's also going to be based on how frequently you see your clients. How often do they typically contact you between sessions? And also their clinical need. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I give clients at least 2 weeks notice prior to me being out of the office. If I'm going to be gone for longer trips, I might give them a little bit more notice. And if I have a client who I know will have a little bit harder of a time with me being gone or with missing sessions, I'm going to give them a lot more preparation time So we have time to also plan for them what they can do if they're needing support when I'm gone. What I think is really important to make sure that you don't do is just leaving clients in a lurch, letting them know at the end of your session, right before you leave, that, oh, by the way, I won't be in the office next week. I'll be back in 3 weeks. That doesn't feel good for the client. So make sure you're just taking time to consider how they might feel about you being gone and give them that advance notice. As I was preparing this podcast, I was thinking about the movie Freaky Friday, where Jamie Lee Curtis's character is a psychologist and she has a super needy client that she sees every single day. And she lets him know, I'm going to see you today, I'm going to see you tomorrow, but not next week, because remember, next week I'll be on my honeymoon. And so she is taking time to prep this client, probably several days in advance, maybe even weeks, that she will be inaccessible for him during the week that she's on her honeymoon. So that's a good practice right there. So once you notify your clients about the time that you'll be gone, make sure you're also setting expectations for how accessible you are during that time. And I would really encourage you to set yourself up in a way where they don't need to contact you. When I've taken shorter trips, sometimes I don't mind checking my email every now and then, or I know if a client's going to text me, I have the ability to respond. But I think as therapists, we really need to be able to set ourselves up where we can truly step away from our business and our practice, but let your clients know what they can expect from you. If you're going to be inaccessible, let them know I will not be responding to text messages or emails or phone calls during my time away. Then, what you're going to need to do is make sure you develop a plan for them to be able to manage themselves when they're not having maybe as frequent sessions with you as they would if you were in town. Generally speaking, when you're in private practice, your clients tend to be a little bit more on the higher functioning side, where they're probably going to be okay if they don't have an in person therapy session for a week. I know sometimes it's quite possible that you will have some clients that or need a little bit more support. So you'll want to plan accordingly for how you can help them get the support they need when you're gone. But I think all too often therapists are super concerned that their clients will not be okay when they're gone for a week. And in general, we need to know that we're important in our clients' lives, but also not so important that they're going to completely collapse in on themselves when we're gone. So think realistically about what your client is going to need when you're gone and help them develop a plan so they can feel empowered and supported, whether that be making a list of coping skills they can utilize when they're feeling the need to self regulate. Do they have a list of people they can contact for encouragement and support? Do they need to sit and have a mini mock therapy session with themselves? I've had clients who will say, like, I'm going to sit in a room and think about what Kimberly would say to me and what I would tell Kimberly if I was actually in a therapy session. And that helps them. You can provide them with a list of resources or phone numbers to call if they are in crisis. For clients who might have a hard time when you're gone, take time to write out a plan that tells them the exact steps they'll need to follow if they find themselves in certain situations. I also, when I'm going to be gone for a significant amount of time where I'm inaccessible, will make sure that I find another therapist who is able to be available for my clients should they actually need a therapy session. So this means you find a therapist who is licensed to be able to serve the clients that you serve, who has enough skills and abilities to be able to serve your clients decently. Someone who you trust to run sessions well if a client needs to have a session when you're gone. So, what I do is I'll pass on this therapist information to my current clients. I'll let them know that this therapist has agreed to see any of my clients should they need it during my time away. And I let them know how they can contact them. I think it's also important to check in with your clients, see if they are considering actually reaching out to this therapist. Because if they are, then you want to get permission to be able to prep the therapist with your client's information so they can run an effective therapy session in your absence. You also need to work out how payment is going to work. So if that therapist is stepping in to manage your caseload, is that client going to pay what the therapist generally charges, or are they going to pay what they might pay you? So just keep those things in mind. I don't think I've ever actually had a client reach out to my therapist who is essentially on call during my absence, but it just helps them feel more supported when you're gone. And it gives you more peace of mind too, knowing that, hey, when I'm away, if I can't respond to a client, they can always reach out to my colleague and get support. Next, it's important to remember to set up your vacation response for your email on your voicemail. And then if you do receive text messages, set up an automatic response that will let whoever has texted you know that you're out of the office until such and such date. That way, if any of your clients forget that you're gone and they send a message to you, they're not expecting a quick response. And then if you have any new or prospective clients who reach out, they'll also be aware that you're not ignoring them, but that you're on vacation and will respond when you return. So, those are some of the practical steps you can take to set yourself up well for a vacation and to make sure your clients are supported in your absence. Another thing I think it's really important to remember is to just be kind to yourself and give yourself time to recalibrate when you return. So, don't try to cram your entire week's caseload into 2 or 3 days. If, let's say, you generally work Monday through Friday, you're coming back after taking a week and a half off and you're planning on working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's okay to let some of those clients know that you're not able to see them until the following week. Give yourself a chance to get back home, get settled, answer emails and phone calls and all the things before you go see clients. I have known therapists who have literally flown on a red eye and planned a full day of clients the morning that they came back. And not to say that they were completely incapable of showing up well for their clients that day, but I know for myself, I don't think I'd be mentally in the right state to see a full day of clients and to do my job really well. So I have just found whenever I've planned in some buffer time coming home from a trip, I'm never sad about it. Usually it's the other way where I regret that I didn't take more time off. So just because you're back in your home does not mean that vacation has to be over. So plan accordingly, give yourself some wiggle room when you're back. Your clients will be okay for another 24 hours. I think it's important to always be aware of what mindsets you might be carrying towards taking time off. So if you're feeling guilty for taking a vacation, if you're feeling hyper anxious about leaving your clients, you're worried that they're not going to be okay when you're gone, take time to check in with the Holy Spirit about that. He calls us to rest. So actually, it's an act of obedience when we take time to rest. If we're not doing that, that's detrimental to ourselves. It ends up impacting our clients in a negative way as well. So see taking vacation as an act of obedience to the Lord and plan accordingly. Know that if he's calling you to do something like rest, that he's also going to supply your needs in order to be able for you to do so. And he's going to take care of your clients when you're gone too. So obviously, we don't want to be careless about our business or careless about our clients, but finding that happy balance of, are my clients supported? Did I do my due diligence to make sure that my clients are supported in my absence? And can I also trust that God's going to protect and take care of them while I do what I need to do, which is rest and play on vacation? Trust him with your financial fears as well. Taking time off can feel significant if, like I said, you're used to having that weekly income flow in. And if you haven't been necessarily planning for that, it can feel kind of scary. But trust that God's going to provide. Summer is actually a great time to go on vacation because a lot of times your clients are currently on vacation. So you're not going to be missing out on the same amount of income as you would if you're taking time away during a busy time of year. I hope that this episode gave you a little bit more clarity in what steps you need to take in order to go on vacation. Plan to make yourself inaccessible sometimes when you're on vacation. Sometimes it feels like a lot of work, but it's so worth it when you're gone and you don't have to worry about what's happening back home in your business. I'm so glad that you were here listening to this episode today. If you need any assistance, even developing a good vacation policy, maybe there were questions that were brought up for you by listening to this episode, I would be happy to help you in a one on one coaching call. So go ahead and check out the show notes below to find out a way to book your first session. You're also welcome to email me at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com if you have any questions about how you can work with me. All right, go get ready for your vacation and have a great summer. And stay tuned for next week's episode. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.